Track, reflect, win. The method high performers swear by, written by Ronnie Rowland, published by Growth Literacy Lounge. Success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines practiced every day. Jim Rohn. There's a reason the people you admire seem unstoppable. It's not magic. It's not luck. And it's definitely not motivation. Spedifalia motivation. It's method. Quiet, consistent, almost boring in its simplicity, but powerful enough to change everything. Behind every elite performer, every top athlete, best-selling author, focused entrepreneur, or resilient parent, you'll find the same habit. They pay attention. Not in a vague, philosophical way. They literally track their lives. Then they reflect. Then they adjust, over and over. It's not glamorous. It's not loud. But it works. And the truth is, you're probably closer than you think. Most people are just a few small changes away from massive clarity. A few honest reflections from real momentum, but they're stuck in cycles of guessing. They set goals without tracking behavior. They make plans without reviewing results. They want better, but they're flying blind. That ends now. This book isn't about adding more pressure to your plate, it's about subtracting the guesswork. It's about giving you a clear, repeatable system you can personalize and actually use. No fluff. No gimmicks. Just the 3-step loop that high performers swear by: track, reflect, win. We'll walk through why it works, how to start, what to track, when to reflect, and how to make it stick. Along the way, you'll hear stories from people who've transformed their work, health, creativity, and relationships, not through hustle, but through awareness. You don't need to change your entire life overnight, you just need to notice it better. A notebook, a few questions, and 5 minutes a day is all it takes. This is your invitation to stop drifting and start designing. Not to chase someone else's version of success, but to define your own and actually build it. Let's get started. Let's track, reflect, win. Then repeat. Chapter 1. The 5-minute habit that separates winners from wishers. Most people are running through life like it's a blurry sprint. Wake up, work, eat, scroll, sleep, then wonder why nothing's changing. But high performers? They move through the same chaos with a calm, quiet confidence. Why? Because they do one thing most don't. Before the day ends, they pause. Just for 5 minutes. They look back. They check in. They track. They reflect. It's not sexy. It won't go viral on TikTok. But it works. Because without it, you're not improving, you're just repeating. Take Mia, for example. She's a senior creative at a tech company. For years, she felt stuck. Overwhelmed, always busy, but not proud of what she was producing. Until one night, she tried something new. She opened a blank notebook and wrote 2 sentences. What did I do today that worked? What drained me? That 5-minute pause changed everything. Within weeks, she started seeing patterns. Her best work happened before noon. Meetings after 3 p.m. left her exhausted. Fridays? Total creative wastelands. She started restructuring her schedule, protecting her energy zones, and suddenly, her work took off. Same talent. Same job. Just better awareness. That's the power of this habit. Tracking gives you data. Reflection gives you direction. And here's the part no one tells you. It's not about discipline. It's about design. When you close your day with 5 minutes of honest attention, you create a feedback loop. It's like installing headlights on your journey. You see what's working. You notice what's not. And that visibility alone? It changes how you show up tomorrow. Most people say they want to grow, but they're flying blind. They chase goals without studying their own behavior. They repeat the same patterns and wonder why nothing improves. But the elite? They're running a personal performance lab. They test, they tweak, they learn, and they do it over and over until the results are undeniable. You don't need a fancy app or a 47-step planner to do this. You just need a place to write and the courage to be honest. Sit down at the end of your day and ask, what moved me forward? What pulled me back? What surprised me? The goal isn't perfection, it's awareness. And if it feels small, good. It should. Small is sustainable. Small is sneaky. Small slips under your excuses and build something massive over time. Let's be honest, this habit won't give you fireworks on day 1. But give it a week, and you'll feel the difference. Give it a month, and others will notice. Give it a year, and you'll be unrecognizable. The line between the person who wins and the one who watches isn't talent or luck. It's reflection. It's the willingness to ask, "Why did that happen?" and sit with the answer. It's reviewing your days like a coach watches game film, not to shame yourself, but to sharpen yourself. That's what you're starting here. A loop of learning, a ritual of realignment. 5 minutes every day. That's the gap between drifting and directing your life. So here's your invitation. Tonight, before you reach for your phone or turn on Netflix, pause. Ask yourself one simple question. What did today teach me? That's how we start winning, not by pushing harder, but by paying attention. And this is just the beginning. In the next chapter, you'll meet people who've quietly transformed their lives using this very method. They're not superhuman. They're just consistent, and soon, so will you be. High performers track and reflect daily. Just 5 minutes is enough. Reflection turns your day into data, then into direction. You don't need more hustle, you need more awareness. Where in your life are you repeating patterns without realizing it? Tonight, write down. What moved me forward today? What pulled me back? Then repeat tomorrow. Chapter 2. The day that changed everything. There's a moment in every high performer's life when they stop winging it. Sometimes it's subtle, a question asked at the right time. Sometimes it's jarring, a failure too sharp to ignore, but that moment becomes a pivot, from guessing to measuring, from hoping to learning, from drifting to tracking. It's the start of something deliberate, and once it begins, everything shifts. For Jason, it started with a loss. He was a mid-level sales manager who missed his quarterly target by a mile. He was crushed, not just by the numbers but by the confusion. He didn't know why he missed. He felt like he was working hard, long hours, back-to-back calls, non-stop hustle. But effort without clarity is a trap. His manager asked one question that changed his trajectory. "Do you track your calls?" Jason shrugged, "Kind of." That night, he created a basic spreadsheet: calls made, follow-ups sent, deals closed. Within a month, his patterns became clear. He wasn't bad, he was inconsistent. By his next review, he wasn't just hitting his numbers. He was breaking records. Not because he worked harder, but because he worked smarter. Then there's Priya, a freelance designer. Her work was strong, but her schedule was chaos. She never knew why some weeks flowed and others collapsed. Until one night, over tea, a friend asked, "What's your best work window?" Priya didn't know. So she started tracking. Just a simple log: how many hours she worked, how creative she felt, what time of day it was. 2 weeks in, the results stunned her. Her best designs always happened between 10 a.m. and 1 p.m. Anything past 6 p.m. garbage. So she reorganized her projects, protected her prime hours, built buffers in her evenings. Her burnout dropped. Her client praise soared, all because she saw herself clearly. These stories aren't rare, they're just rarely told, because tracking and reflection are quiet habits. No one claps for your spreadsheet. No one celebrates your journal entries. But those habits? They're the scaffolding of greatness. Even elite athletes, who live in a world of performance, don't leave this to chance. Serena Williams tracked not just her physical stats, but her mental focus during matches. Kobe Bryant reviewed his games obsessively, looking for micro-adjustments. They weren't chasing perfection. They were mining insight. But it's not just athletes. Best-selling authors track their writing streaks. Founders reflect on their decisions weekly. Even therapists log their emotional energy after client sessions to spot what drains them. This isn't obsession, it's optimization, and it's available to anyone. You don't need a coach or a massive goal, you need a moment. One honest check-in with yourself. One decision to stop repeating yesterday by default. That's how it starts. Here's the truth: most people live reactively. They respond to the day. They react to emotions. They guess what works and what doesn't. But when you begin to track, even in simple ways, you reclaim authorship. You stop being a passenger in your own story. And once you reflect, that's when the patterns speak. You realize that Mondays drain you not because they're Mondays, but because of the meetings stacked back to back. You realize your creativity spikes after workouts. Your irritability flares when sleep drops below 6 hours. This is data. But more than that, it's design material. You can shape a better life when you understand the one you're living. The people you admire? They're not magical. They're methodical. They run loops: try, track, reflect, repeat. And every loop makes them sharper. Now it's your turn. You've seen what's possible. Next, we'll zoom in on the very first step, figuring out what's worth tracking in your life, and why getting that right sets everything else in motion. Real transformations begin with honest data and daily reflection. High performers across industries use simple systems to improve. Tracking isn't obsessive. It's how we reclaim control. Can you remember a moment when things clicked or fell apart, and you didn't know why? Write down one area in your life where you want better results. Then log what you did for it today. Chapter 3. Start here. What should you track? If you track the wrong thing, you'll win the wrong game. That's the danger no one talks about. You can become incredibly efficient at things that don't matter. You can fill notebooks and spreadsheets with stats that don't move your life forward. That's why this step matters. Before you start tracking, you need clarity on what winning actually looks like for you. Let's zoom in. Imagine someone who wants to get healthier. That's vague. They start tracking steps and water intake, great, but the real issue is sleep. They're averaging 5 hours a night and wondering why workouts feel impossible. If they tracked energy levels, mood, and bedtime, they'd see the real lever. But because they didn't define what health meant for them, they chased the obvious, not the impactful. High performers reverse that. They don't start with a tracker, they start with a target. What's the area of life you want to change? Be specific. If it's your fitness, is it strength, endurance, fatigue recovery? If it's work, is it focus, output, revenue, satisfaction? Clarity beats ambition every time. The more precisely you define what matters, the more powerful your tracking becomes. Take Omar, a solopreneur scaling his first business. He thought his biggest challenge was productivity, so he started tracking how many hours he worked. But 3 weeks in, nothing changed. He was working long days already. On a hunch, he started logging his distractions. Every time he context switched, email, social, Slack, he made a note. The results were brutal. He was switching tasks over 50 times a day. No wonder he couldn't get deep work done. Once he tracked the right thing, he made real progress. He blocked time, turned off notifications, his quality soared, and so did his income. The same applies to you. If you're feeling stuck, unclear, or overwhelmed, don't just start tracking everything. Start tracking intentionally. Ask, what am I trying to improve? What would success look like? Then work backward. What behaviors affect that result? What signals can I measure? Here's a cheat code. Most meaningful metrics fall into one of 4 buckets: energy, output, consistency, or emotion. Energy includes things like sleep, food, movement. Output is your tangible results: words written, calls made, deals closed. Consistency is your follow-through. Did you show up, stick to the plan, stay accountable? Emotion is how you felt. Were you energized, anxious, bored, excited? Even a basic log using those categories can reveal a ton. 1 line per day. 5 minutes max. Don't overcomplicate it. Tracking isn't about perfection, it's about patterns, and patterns only emerge when you start paying attention. And yes, you might guess wrong at first. That's okay. The beauty of this method is that it evolves with you. What you track today might shift in a month. That's growth. The only mistake is not tracking at all. So what should you track? Think about where you feel friction. What's causing stress? What's not progressing? That's usually where your most valuable data lives. Start there. And remember, clarity compounds. The more you track, the more you see. The more you see, the smarter your decisions become. And that's when the magic happens. Not from tracking everything, but from tracking what matters most. Next, we'll talk about how to track like a scientist, not a perfectionist. Because your life isn't just a story, it's an experiment. And you're the one running the lab. Tracking only works if you know what matters to you. Start with a clear goal, then identify behaviors and signals that affect it. Simplicity wins. Track energy, output, consistency, and emotion. What area of your life feels stuck? And what might you track to better understand it? Choose one focus area and write down 3 things you could start tracking today. Chapter 4. Your life is a lab, and you're the scientist. Every day you run dozens of little experiments. Most of them happen unconsciously. You try a new routine, skip breakfast, change your workout, stay up late, say yes to a meeting, say no to a plan. All of it feeds into your system, and all of it produces results. The only question is, are you noticing the effects? High performers do, but not because they're smarter. It's because they treat life like a lab, not a lottery. They don't wait for clarity to strike, they create it by experimenting on purpose. They track inputs, observe outputs, reflect, adjust, repeat, and over time they build systems that work for them, not against them. Meet Elena. She's a teacher, mom of 2, and aspiring writer. For years she told herself she just wasn't a morning person. Writing before work sounded impossible. But she wanted to finish her book, so she ran an experiment. For 1 week, she set her alarm 30 minutes earlier. She tracked how alert she felt, how many words she wrote, and her mood afterward. The first 2 days were rough. Day 3, she hit a groove. By day 7, she had written 2,800 words and felt more energized going into class. That data shifted her story. She didn't need a miracle, she needed a method. That's what we're doing here, replacing assumptions with evidence. Instead of saying, I'm bad at focus, we ask, when do I focus best? Instead of declaring, I can't stick to a habit, we ask, what makes me consistent? You stop labeling yourself and start learning yourself. That shift alone changes everything. Because when you start tracking like a scientist, failure loses its sting. It becomes information. If a strategy flops, you don't spiral, you study. You ask, what variable didn't work? Maybe it was timing. Maybe it was environment. Maybe it was the wrong metric. Whatever it is, you log it, tweak it, and try again. That's growth by design. And it doesn't take complex systems. All it takes is curiosity. Start with one area of life you want to improve. Pick a few inputs, things you can control: sleep, hydration, screen time, social interaction, nutrition, movement, rest. Then log 1 or 2 outputs: energy, mood, productivity, satisfaction. Each day, check in. You're not judging, you're observing. Your goal isn't to be perfect, it's to be honest. Tracking this way keeps you nimble. You don't stay stuck in old plans. You adjust as new data emerges. If your energy crashes after a certain food, you try alternatives. If your creativity peaks in the evening, you restructure your schedule. Over time, these tweaks compound into transformation. And don't worry if you miss a day. Scientists don't scrap the whole experiment because of one gap. They keep going. The same grace applies here. This isn't about control, it's about clarity, and clarity is power. You might be surprised how fast the insights come. Most people never pause long enough to see what's already working, but once you look, the patterns are waiting. You'll see that your best days have common threads. You'll notice what drains you, what fuels you, and what needs to change, and suddenly growth isn't a mystery. It's a method. You're not stuck. You're just unmeasured, and now you have the tools to change that. In the next chapter, we'll zoom in on how to make reflection even more powerful, because tracking without meaning is just noise. But when you ask the right questions, those numbers come alive. Your life is a series of experiments. Track them like a scientist. Replace judgment with curiosity and assumptions with data. Insights come when you observe honestly and adjust intentionally. Where in your life are you operating on assumption instead of observation? Choose one input like sleep and one output like energy. Track them for the next 3 days. Chapter 5. The Power of Reflection Questions. Tracking gives you the data, but reflection gives it meaning. One without the other is like taking notes but never reading them. You end up with information but no insight. High performers don't just log their days, they learn from them, and they do it by asking better questions. Most people don't reflect because they think it's complicated. It's not. It's just a conversation with yourself. But the quality of that conversation depends on the questions you ask. Ask shallow questions, get shallow answers. Ask honest, focused ones, and you start pulling gold from the dirt. Let's start with the basics. At the end of the day, instead of zoning out or diving into the next thing, you ask, what went well today? What didn't? Why? That alone creates a pause, a moment to catch your breath and actually see your life. It sounds simple, but most people never do it. They move from task to task, season to season, without stopping to ask what's working. Then you go deeper. What gave me energy today? What drained me? Where did I feel most alive? These questions pull you into alignment with yourself. You start spotting patterns. You begin to see what fuels your best days, not someone else's version of success, but yours. Take Alex, a rising startup founder who was burning out fast. His calendar was packed, his inbox overflowing, and his energy tanking. A mentor told him to try 5 minutes of daily reflection using just one question: what felt forced today? Within a week, Alex noticed a trend. He felt most drained after investor meetings and most energized during product development. That insight led to a conversation with his co-founder, a role realignment, and a total shift in how he spent his time. His energy returned, and so did his joy. The right question at the right time can unlock a stuck moment. It can break loops. It can reveal hidden causes behind repeated frustrations. You think you're bad at mornings, but the real issue is late-night screen time. You think you're lazy, but you're actually overwhelmed. Reflection uncovers that. But only if you ask. And don't worry, you don't need a new question every day. In fact, repetition is powerful. Just like a scientist runs the same tests to confirm results, you can ask the same questions until a pattern becomes undeniable. Try one for a week. What did I do today that mattered? Or what should I do less of tomorrow? Each time you answer, the lens sharpens. This habit builds self-awareness fast. Not the vague kind, but the actionable kind. You don't just know you're tired, you know why. You don't just feel off, you know what triggered it. That clarity makes you better at everything else. Communication, decision-making, focus, boundaries. All of it improves because you know what's really going on inside you. The best part? You don't need hours or a journal full of pages. 2 or 3 sentences is enough. This is about presence, not poetry. Ask, answer, notice. That's it. And as you keep reflecting, your questions will evolve. You'll move from reactive to strategic. From what stressed me today, to what do I want more of next week? From what felt heavy, to what am I avoiding? These shifts happen naturally. The more honest you are, the more useful your questions become. Next, we'll put this into a routine, a simple daily debrief you can return to every night. Because reflection isn't just for breakthroughs. It's for building a rhythm that keeps you sharp. Reflection questions give meaning to your data and patterns. The right question can unlock clarity, energy, and direction. You don't need many questions, just the courage to answer honestly. What question, if you asked it daily, could change the way you see your day? Choose one reflection question. Answer it every night for the next 5 days. Chapter 6. Win the Day. How to design a simple daily debrief. You don't need an elaborate system to change your life. You need a rhythm. A ritual. Something small, repeatable, and honest. That's where the daily debrief comes in. It's the linchpin of the track. Reflect, win, method. 5 to 10 minutes once a day. That's it. But done consistently, it rewires how you see yourself and how you show up tomorrow. Think of it like a pilot landing a plane. Before shutting everything down, they go through a checklist. Not because they don't trust themselves, but because the stakes are high. Your life deserves the same level of care. Every day you live is data, experience, learning. Don't let it pass by without extracting the gold. The daily debrief is simple. 3 questions, same ones every night. What did I do today that moved me forward? What drained me or held me back? What will I adjust tomorrow? That's the loop. Track, reflect, adjust. You're not writing a memoir, you're running a performance review with heart. Let's walk through an example. Meet Caleb. He's an aspiring YouTuber with a full-time job. For months, he felt frustrated. His channel wasn't growing. He decided to try the daily debrief for 30 days. Each night, he answered those 3 questions. By day 10, he saw the trend. On days he recorded early, he felt energized. On days he left it for later, he skipped. He also noticed editing was draining, but scripting lit him up. So he rearranged his week, batch recorded in the mornings, outsourced editing, and blocked time for writing. His channel grew. But more importantly, he felt proud again. That's what a daily debrief does. It reconnects you with your own cause and effect. Most people just feel off or on with no idea why. They blame motivation, circumstance, timing. But you're collecting clarity. Every day becomes a step forward, even if it felt messy. And here's the secret: it's not about results. It's about reflection. Even on days where nothing went well, the act of noticing brings value. You realize what to avoid, what needs protecting, what you've been ignoring. You become your own coach, one question at a time. Still, consistency matters more than perfection. Don't wait for the perfect night. Don't skip because you're tired. Do it in your notes app, on a napkin, or in your voice recorder. Format doesn't matter, frequency does. The habit is what transforms you. And you don't have to stop at 3 questions. Once the rhythm feels solid, you can add others. What surprised me today? What am I grateful for? What did I avoid? But start simple. Let it become part of how you close your day, just like brushing your teeth, but for your clarity. You'll be amazed what shows up. Patterns you never noticed. Energy leaks you ignored. Small wins you forgot to celebrate. It's like giving yourself a highlight reel and a blueprint at the same time. Eventually, this ritual becomes more than just a practice. It becomes your edge. In a world full of noise, you have signal. While others repeat mistakes, you're learning in real time. While others react emotionally, you adjust intentionally. That's how you win the day, by reviewing it with purpose. Next, we'll start pulling those patterns together. Because once you have a few weeks of data and reflection under your belt, the real insights start to surface. And those insights? They're the map to your next breakthrough. A daily debrief turns your day into insight and future advantage. 3 simple questions help you track progress, energy, and clarity. The habit matters more than the format. Consistency builds momentum. What would change if you ended every day with a short, honest review? Tonight, answer. What moved me forward? What drained me? What will I adjust tomorrow? Repeat daily. Chapter 7. The patterns don't lie. Tracking and reflection are powerful on their own. But the real transformation happens when you start connecting the dots. That's when patterns emerge. That's when the random begins to feel reliable. You're not just logging your days anymore, you're uncovering the systems beneath them. Most people live in loops without realizing it. They think they're experiencing new problems every week, but really they're cycling through the same few issues with different names. When you track consistently and reflect with intention, those loops start showing up. And once you see them, you can change them. Take Morgan, for example. She's a high-performing operations manager who felt like her motivation came and went without warning. Some weeks she was locked in. Others she could barely focus. She started using a simple color system to track her days: green for high energy, yellow for average, red for off. After 3 weeks, a pattern jumped off the page. Every red day followed a night of less than 6 hours of sleep, and 2 back-to-back meetings before lunch. That wasn't random. That was rhythm. So she adjusted, moved her meetings, and protected her sleep. Suddenly, her motivation became predictable. That's the beauty of pattern spotting. It makes the invisible visible. You realize your anxiety spikes after certain types of conversations. Your energy dips on high-carb lunches. Your creativity flows best after a walk. You stop assuming, and you start knowing. But here's where it gets interesting. Patterns don't just show you what's wrong, they show you what's right. When was your last great day? What made it great? Was it the slow morning? The deep work block? The absence of distractions? If you don't track it, you forget it. If you don't reflect on it, you miss it. Your best days leave clues. The question is, are you paying attention? This process also makes you more resilient. When something feels off, you don't have to panic or guess. You look at the data. You ask, have I felt this before? What was true then? Instead of spiraling, you problem solve. That kind of grounded awareness is a massive advantage in a world of noise. And you don't need fancy charts to do this. Just set aside 10 minutes once a week. Flip through your daily logs. Look for repeats. Ask yourself, what keeps showing up? What do I keep avoiding? When do I feel strongest? What drains me the fastest? Those patterns are your teacher. They're trying to help you design a better life. You'll also start to see where your systems need an upgrade. Maybe you notice your evenings always collapse into mindless scrolling. That's not a willpower problem, it's a pattern, and once you name it, you can redesign it. Maybe you replace scrolling with journaling, or a walk, or an earlier bedtime. The fix doesn't have to be drastic, it just has to be intentional. This is how high performers get better, not in giant leaps, but in steady, smart adjustments. They don't wait for breakdowns to change, they pay attention to the trends and act early. That's how they stay ahead, not just of the competition but of burnout, frustration, and wasted time. You already have patterns. Now you have the power to read them, and once you do, you can write new ones. In the next chapter, we'll talk about what to do when things stall, when progress slows or momentum fades. Because even the best systems hit walls. But when you're tracking and reflecting, you can break through them with precision. Patterns reveal what's really driving your energy, motivation, and results. Tracking turns feelings into data and problems into solvable loops. Weekly reflection helps you adjust your systems before they break down. What's one pattern in your life that keeps repeating, and what's it trying to teach you? Review your past 7 days. Write down one pattern you notice and one small change to test this week. Chapter 8. Breaking through plateaus. Everyone hits a wall. It's not a sign that something's wrong, it's a sign that something's working. You've grown. You've improved. You've reached a new level. But now? The same effort doesn't give you the same results. That's the plateau. And how you handle it separates dabblers from high performers. The mistake most people make is thinking they need more force, more hours, more effort. But what they really need is feedback. Because plateaus aren't always caused by a lack of effort, they're caused by a lack of awareness. You're stuck not because you're failing, but because you've stopped learning. This is where tracking and reflection pay off. When you're collecting data, a plateau isn't confusing, it's diagnostic. You can look back and ask, what changed? When did things slow down? What am I still doing that no longer works? It turns your frustration into a puzzle you can solve. Take Jonah, a strength coach who had built a solid morning routine: wake up, journal, train, eat, and start client calls. For months, it worked like magic. Then, suddenly he started feeling sluggish and unfocused. He blamed sleep, diet, and even motivation. But when he looked back at his data, he saw the answer. His workouts had crept from 45 minutes to 90. That extra time was pushing his breakfast later, compressing his workday, and throwing off his rhythm. It wasn't about doing less, it was about returning to what worked. Plateaus often signal that your current system has reached its ceiling. And that's good news. It means you've maxed out this version of the process. Now it's time to evolve it. Think of it like software: you're not broken, you're due for an update. Sometimes the update is a small tweak, changing your workout time, altering your morning flow, revisiting your goals. Other times, it's deeper. Maybe the metrics you've been tracking no longer inspire you. Maybe you've grown past the version of yourself who started this journey. That's not failure, that's growth, and growth demands new questions. Here's a simple exercise to break through: do a pattern reset. Go back through the last 2 weeks of logs. Highlight what's still working and what feels stale. What used to energize you that now feels heavy? What habit used to challenge you that now feels automatic? That's where the shift begins. Next, ask yourself, what would make this exciting again? Maybe it's a new metric. Maybe it's a new tool. Maybe it's sharing your process with someone else. High performers don't just push, they pivot. They experiment. They bring curiosity into the stall, not panic. And don't underestimate rest. Sometimes a plateau isn't a problem to fix, it's a signal to recover. Your brain and body need time to integrate growth. A pause is not a step back. It's a setup for the next leap forward. If your data shows fatigue, give yourself permission to scale back, realign, and return stronger. Plateaus can feel discouraging. But they're also honest. They show you exactly where you've stopped paying attention. And once you bring your awareness back, momentum follows, not by force, but by design. So next time you hit the wall, don't double down blindly. Zoom out. Review your system. Ask better questions. Test new inputs. Trust the process. In the next chapter, we'll explore how this method applies beyond work and performance, how tracking and reflection can strengthen your relationships, enhance creativity, and help you feel fully alive. Plateaus are a sign your current system has reached its limit, not that you failed. Reviewing your data helps you spot subtle shifts and recalibrate with intention. Growth requires updates, sometimes in your habits, sometimes in your focus. Where in your life are you feeling stuck, and what have you stopped noticing? Do a pattern reset, review the last 2 weeks of entries, and highlight one thing to stop, start, or adjust. Chapter 9. Reflection for Relationships. Tracking and reflection aren't just for productivity and performance, they're for wholeness. You're not just a machine that outputs work. You're a human being with relationships, emotions, creative sparks, and energy cycles. When you only track what you do, you miss who you are, and who you are shapes everything else. Start with relationships. Most people assume that relationships succeed or struggle based on time or compatibility. But often, it comes down to attention. You don't need to track every conversation or plan weekly performance reviews with your spouse or best friend. But you can reflect on the connection. At the end of your day, ask, who did I feel most connected to today? Who felt distant? Why? That one question can reveal more than hours of overthinking. Take Darren, a product manager with a growing family. He used to feel guilty for not being present enough at home, but guilt is vague. So he started tracking his presence, just a quick note on how connected he felt during family time. Within a week, he realized that phone usage after dinner was his biggest leak. So he made one shift, devices off from 6 to 8 p.m. The guilt disappeared. His presence grew, his kids noticed. His wife smiled more. One habit, born from one reflection. Now look at creativity. Most people treat it like a mystery. Some days it shows up, other days it hides. But creativity is often pattern-based. When do your ideas flow the easiest? What environment sparks your best thinking? Do you create better after movement, in silence, with music outside? Reflection helps you spot that. Jasmine, a songwriter, was stuck for months. She blamed writer's block. But when she reviewed her energy and mood logs, something clicked. Her most creative bursts happened after long walks. So she tested a new routine: walk first, write second. Ideas returned. Not because she forced inspiration, but because she tracked what triggered it. Your muse isn't missing. It's waiting for better conditions. Then there's energy. Not productivity, not output. Just energy. How you feel. Most people power through exhaustion, blame their schedule, or label themselves as low energy. But when you reflect consistently, you learn how your energy actually works. You notice how food, sleep, people, movement, and even music affect your state. Energy awareness changes everything. When you track your highs and lows, you stop blaming motivation and start managing inputs. You know when to push and when to rest. You stop shaming yourself for not being on all the time, and you start working with your body and brain, not against them. And yes, this kind of tracking can feel soft, abstract. But it's foundational. You're not just trying to win at work, you're trying to win at life. What good is a great morning routine if your evenings are full of disconnection? What's the point of hitting goals if you're too drained to enjoy them? Tracking relationships, creativity, and energy gives you a fuller picture and better results. None of this requires a new app or complex dashboard, just awareness. A few simple questions at the end of the day. Who lifted me up? What drained me? When did I feel most alive? That's enough to start seeing the shape of your life and gently molding it into something better. In the next chapter, we'll zoom back out and study how top performers use tracking and reflection across time, daily, weekly, monthly, to stay sharp and aligned with what matters most. Reflection isn't just for work, it deepens relationships, sparks creativity, and protects energy. Simple daily questions reveal patterns in your connection, inspiration, and mood. Awareness of how you feel leads to better choices and fuller living. Where in your day did you feel most alive? And what made that moment possible? Tonight, write down one thing that energized you and one thing that drained you. Look for that pattern all week. Chapter 10. How high performers reflect differently. High performers don't just reflect more, they reflect differently. They don't rely solely on gut feelings or vague memories. They build in rhythms of review that stretch beyond the day-to-day. Daily reflection gives you clarity. But zooming out, weekly, monthly, quarterly, that's what gives you wisdom. That's how the best stay aligned with what matters and avoid drifting into burnout or distraction. The daily debrief is about the moment, but weekly reflection is about momentum. It answers a different question. Am I moving in the right direction? You pause. You review the data. You ask what moved, what stalled, what surprised you. It's not about judging your week, it's about understanding it. Think of it like pulling your head out of the water to make sure you're swimming toward the right shore. Take Sean, a nonprofit leader juggling team meetings, funding deadlines, and family life. He started setting aside 30 minutes every Sunday to look at his week. Just a simple log: wins, lessons, energy patterns, distractions, and one thing to improve. After a month, he saw the compounding effect. His weeks felt tighter, more intentional. He wasn't just reacting, he was steering. A monthly reflection adds another layer. It asks, what's changing in me? You step back further to examine trends. What did I start doing this month? What faded? What habits stuck? What goals still matter? You're not just watching behavior now, you're studying identity. Who am I becoming? What am I reinforcing? And then, every quarter, the elite go deeper. They ask the big questions. Is my system still working for my season? Am I chasing the right goals or just old ones? What needs to evolve? These aren't casual journal prompts, they're CEO-level check-ins with yourself. This is why high performers seem so consistent. It's not because they're more disciplined, it's because they're more aligned. They review their life like a portfolio. They reflect not just to correct but to connect. To connect their actions with their values, their habits with their purpose, their time with what they actually want. And they don't make it complicated. Often, it's the same few questions repeated on different time horizons. At the end of the week, what worked, what didn't? What will I try next? At the end of the month, what am I proud of? What frustrated me? What needs adjusting? At the end of the quarter, what version of me am I building? What do I need to let go of? This multi-level reflection gives you two superpowers: course correction and compounding. You catch misalignments early, before they become detours. And you double down on what works, turning small wins into sustainable progress. Even more important, it builds self-trust. When you reflect regularly, you stop fearing ruts, setbacks, or slowdowns, because you've built a system that catches you. You know how to realign. That's not just productive, that's powerful. If this feels overwhelming, start small. Add a 5-minute weekly review to your calendar. Make it a Friday wind down or a Sunday reset. Ask the same 3 questions. Then, build up. Add a monthly check-in. Block a quiet afternoon each quarter to step back and evaluate. This is not a waste of time. This is the time that saves time. In the next chapter, we'll explore the practical side, how to build a toolkit that supports this rhythm, with methods that fit your life, your style, and your goals. High performers reflect on multiple levels: daily, weekly, monthly, and quarterly. Zoomed out reflection reveals deeper trends, identity shifts, and system misalignments. Regular review builds alignment, focus, and long-term self-trust. When was the last time you zoomed out to ask, is this still working for me? Schedule 10 minutes this week for a mini review. Write down what worked, what didn't, and what to try next. Chapter 11. Build your personal tracking toolkit. You don't need to become a data analyst to track your life effectively. You just need a system that fits you. Some people thrive with apps. Others prefer analog. Some need prompts. Others want freedom. The best tracking toolkit is the one you'll actually use. So let's build one that works for your life, your style, and your goals. Start with this principle: friction kills habits. If tracking feels like a chore, you won't stick with it. That's why the first step in building your toolkit is finding the easiest path to consistency. What's the simplest way for you to log your day, reflect for a few minutes, and spot your patterns? For some, that's a pocket notebook. Quick, portable, zero distractions. They jot down a few bullets at the end of each day: mood, energy, focus, progress. For others, it's an app with reminders and graphs. Tools like Notion, Dailyo, or even Apple Notes can make tracking seamless. If you prefer voice, a quick audio log into your phone might be the key. The format doesn't matter. The function does. Next, decide what you want to track. This depends on your goals and your pain points. If you're focused on fitness, you might track workouts, sleep, soreness, and energy. If your work life feels chaotic, track deep work time, distractions, and satisfaction. If relationships feel off, track quality time, conversations, and emotional tone. Remember, start small. Don't try to track everything at once. Choose 3 to 5 signals that actually affect your life. Over time, you can adjust. Your toolkit should evolve with you. Then, build a reflection loop into your system. This is where many people stop short. They gather the data but never study it. The magic happens in the review. Whether you reflect daily, weekly, or both, your toolkit should support it. Maybe that's a recurring note in your journal. Maybe it's a template in your app. Maybe it's a voice memo on your walk. Whatever helps you think about your own thinking, that's what belongs in your system. Also, think about timing. When will you log and reflect? First thing in the morning? Before bed? During lunch? Tie it to a habit that already exists. Stack it on top. If you already have a tea or coffee ritual, build in your tracker. That small anchor can make the habit stick. And don't forget about prompts. Some days you'll know exactly what to say. Other days you'll need a little help. Having a set of go-to questions, what energized me today? What drained me? What moved me forward, can break through the blank page. Finally, make your toolkit visual if that helps you stay motivated. Some people use habit trackers or color-coded calendars. Others use emoji logs or progress bars. Seeing your streaks builds momentum. But if that feels like pressure, skip it. This isn't about impressing anyone. It's about learning yourself. You might go through a few versions before it sticks. That's not failure. That's feedback. Let your system breathe. Try something for a week, adjust. You're not building a rigid routine, you're designing a flexible framework that adapts as you grow. At the end of the day, the best toolkit is the one that lowers resistance, sparks reflection, and fits into your actual life. Keep it light, keep it honest, and most of all, keep going. The best toolkit is the one you'll use consistently with the least friction. Start small, track what matters, and evolve your system over time. Tie your tracking to existing habits and build in regular reflection. What kind of system would make it easier, not harder, for you to reflect daily? Pick one tool today, an app, notebook, or method, and set it up for a 7-day experiment. Take care and be well.